Good evening, all. We have a wonderful video in store for you. This is probably one of the most requested and talked about in my comment section on my channel. This is going to be an HP case swap, or a pre-built case swap. So we're going to take this TG, we are going to farm all the parts out of it, we're going to put it in this wonderful, awesome PC. I decided to go all out and get you guys RGB, get a AIO liquid cooler Kraken, get the Rogue Strix Thor 850 watt platinum power supply that's got an LCD on the side and shows you some cool information. The only thing we didn't go crazy with was the motherboard. We just got a normal B550 Plus, and that's what's in store for you. So we're gonna rip the parts out of here, and then we're gonna farm them out and put them in here, and I'll show you what you need. One quick thing, right to the point. The cooler in here will not work when you do the new board, so you're gonna have to pick up a different cooler. This is because they used an Intel style socket cooler because HP is trying to be cheap. But other than that, you can find a cooler for like at the least amount, probably $30, and then on the high end, like the Kraken, you know, $300. RGB coolers you can find for about 150 bucks. But anyways, guys, let's get into this video. Let's get this thing open and start harvesting our parts. All right, guys, we're gonna jump right into this. You're gonna need a T15 Torx head, and we're gonna remove our first screw from here. This is gonna release our GPU. Go ahead and open your door. If you're wondering why this is bent, it's because I stuck a 3070 in here. Now we're gonna move to the inside of the case, and we're gonna grab our, actually I'll keep this door closed while I do this. Yep, there we go. Grab our power, our 8-pin, and unplug it from our GPU. We are gonna come, of course, and unscrew our CPU heatsink. And if you notice, this looks like an Intel cooler. That's because it is on an AMD. If you have one of the Noctua upgrades, you already know how to install it, and the same way to install it is to take it out. Just do everything in reverse. Go ahead and unplug your PWM 4-pin, and our cooler's out. Ooh, that's not good. All right, so I'm happy I could show you this. There's two ways you could avoid this. You could run the computer for 15 minutes and the paste will get hot enough, or it could end up like this. Let's check if any of the pins are bent. When you pull up, you want to pull straight up. And as you can see, I pulled straight up and it did not screw the pins up. So set that off to the side for right now. We're going to deal with that in a second. And let's go ahead and grab our GPU out. You're going to pull this little tab up, get a good grip on it, and wiggle and jiggle back and forth. Set our RX 5500 off to the side, come and grab our RAM. And of course I have upgraded RAM that's cool RGB-ness, so I'm going to be swapping that out. But it's pretty much the same thing as this. It's 2x8 sticks, 16 gigabyte kit. And then we're going to grab a number 0 or JP1 Phillips head, and we're going to remove our M.2. Couple things about M.2s that I want to tell you is first off, this is a real small screw, so be careful. It's going to bend up like this, and you're going to pull straight out. It's the same thing when you install. You come in on an angle and you push down. If it gives you any resistance here, it's not all the way in the socket. And there's our M.2 out. Go ahead and replace your screw. If you do want to do an if you do want to do the wireless card to add wireless to your motherboard, it will support it, or at least the ASUS will. You're going to have to get in a snap-in antenna, the one that's in here. You could harvest the one from here, but if you're gaming, you want to be on the 1 gigabit Ethernet NIC anyways. Of course, you could have that as a backup, throw it in your case, you know. So we can set this off to the side. Everything's out of there, and let's deal with our processor. So we're going to come from the bottom, and we're just gonna push straight off. There we go. Wonderful stock thermal paste. You wanna clean this up real quick. So grab yourself a piece of paper toweling, and usually you try to do this while it's in the socket. That's what I'll probably do. So let's grab our PC again, bring it back over here. And to get the processor out, normally if it doesn't pop off like that, you push down and out, and then let's swing that up. And that's how you should unlock the processor. And I will reinstall this quick, push down and snap back in. I'm gonna get some isotropic alcohol, and let's clean this wonderful processor up. She's got a date with a brand new, beautiful motherboard that you don't wanna go in looking like a scrub, especially on a date. Go all looking oily and stuff, man. All right, so now we're gonna go to uninstall our processor. Gonna grab this out, and it's got a little click right there, and you should feel it snap all the way up. Go ahead, pull the processor up and set that off to the side. And now we're gonna get our motherboard and we are gonna start prepping to get all our parts on our other motherboard. All right, fam, we got the board unpacked and everything out here. A couple things you wanna grab from the box is your IO shield. It's gonna be your first thing. Just set this off to the side. You'll need that when we get to the case. And then go ahead and unpack the M.2 screws. I usually just put them right in the socket right away. I put the other one right here already. Guys, the first thing we're gonna start with is the M.2 slot. And we're gonna go for the 2280 socket right here, or nut. And then we're gonna bring that guy on home. And then we are gonna put our M.2 in a 30-degree angle on an incline. And kind of, you'll feel it, and it should bounce up and down like this, and you got it in there right. Make sure it's nice and stable. Go ahead and get yourself either a number 1 Phillips and get your M.2 screw ready. This iFixit kit really makes this easy because it's magnetic and it can hold on to screws. Go ahead and get your screw down, and you don't need to Superman it. Just as soon as it feels tight, stop. All right, that's our M.2 installed. So the next thing we need to install is our processor. Go ahead and move this arm out and back, and then we're gonna grab our processor, and our writing should face towards the back. There we go, our processor's set. Now we're gonna pull our arm down. You'll feel some resistance, it's okay, and click it in. And there we go, our processor is now socketed. And then we're gonna grab our real cool memory. It lights up. And there are specific DIMM slots you normally wanna go with. If you look on the motherboard right here, so if you look on the motherboard right there, you got DIMM A1, and then there's a star next to A2. So these gray slots, and it's gonna be staggered, are where we wanna go. Sometimes it's in these black slots, it could be in red slots, or whatever color they make it. Just pay attention to that. If it doesn't have it marked on the motherboard like I showed you right there, go ahead and refer to the manual that came with it. And then of course there is a tall side and a short side to the RAM. The tall side is gonna be facing me right now. If I was building the board the other way around, it'd be facing the other way around. And this side doesn't have a clasp, but we do gotta remove the clasp on the far top side. We're gonna get our first piece of RAM and send it on home. It is kind of hard pushing down. You might feel like you're gonna break the board. Just put even, constant pressure, and you should hear it snap. And then one quick thing about the motherboard that we gotta do, last thing, because we're doing an AIO cooler, and it's got different bracketing than what your regular cooler is. All right guys, if you already have your cooler installed with your thermal grease and everything, you can skip this part and get to the next section of the video. If you're doing an AIO, this is how you do it. So go ahead and get a regular T2, or not T2, regular number 2 Phillips, and we're gonna undo these screws. Save these brackets because you never know if you join the PC Master Race, you might need them down the road. Of course, they are changing the socket here soon, so honestly, you probably won't need them. So there's already a back plate on here, and that's what we are gonna be attaching our standoffs to. So if you got an AIO cooler, it's gonna have some type of bracketry or some type of standoffs. It might have a back plate that it has you change, but our NZXT has these standoffs right here, and then go, of course, just throw them on down. They don't have to be super tight, but make sure that they go all the way till they stop. And there we go, that's prepared to be put into the case. All right, one thing we're gonna do really quick is we're gonna grab our AIO, because it's got an Intel bracket on here, and we are gonna grab this guy and twist, and it comes right off. And we're gonna grab our other bracket out of there. We're gonna come kind of on an angle here and lock it in. And just make sure it's perpendicular. It's not, because this will let you put your cooler in any design. So you want it to be straight up and down with your lines like that. So when it goes on here, it faces like that. Actually, no, we don't want it like that. We want this way. Technically, you're wrong. So we want to come like this. There we go. So our cooler is going to sit like that, or like that. A couple things to get prepared are some of your screws. You're going to need these guys to attach your fans. And this is if you're going through longer material. One thing real quick is if you got a box of hardware or a bag of hardware that is in the case, or you went and bought this case that's going to be in the back in the drive bay, go ahead and pull that out. It should have some zip ties, and it should have some motherboard screws and power supply screws. And you can bust this bag open and get this ready for the case. I'm going to resituate some stuff here on the table, and we're going to get rocking and rolling, and we're going to get this stuff installed. Normally at this point, if you're putting on a normal heatsink, you'd put your paste on and then put your heatsink on, but we're going to do that once it's in the case. All right guys, I got the case up here. Go ahead and get your case up here, get the side off. I don't have the other side off. There was a magnetic screen fan guard up here, filter. Go ahead and take that off if you got the same case. I really do like this case. I think the front's kind of neat. It's got good airflow and stuff like that. All right guys, so go ahead and grab your AIO. The first thing we're gonna do is install some fans. And I like to just lay it on the side of the case like this so it kind of holds it up. Grab our two cool RGB NZXT fans. And we know if we install them like that, because the AIO cooler is gonna go in like this, we want to install the wires towards the back. Guys, I know that if you have an AIO cooler and stuff like that, you might not have the ARGB and stuff like that. If you just have an AIO cooler, you can skip ahead. Otherwise, if you do have an NZXT, I'm going to show you really quick how to do the wiring. So of course, we're going to grab our out wire. We're going to come here, or sorry, our in wire, and come here and come into the end. Snap it on in. Grab our out. And then just snap it around in. And snap that guy in. Now our ARGB is all set up. I like to zip tie this right away because you can't really get to it. So go ahead and grab yourself a zip tie. If you most cases come with 4 or 5 zip ties. I'm just gonna walk down with some zip ties, but this more goes with wire management. All right guys, we're gonna go ahead and install our AIO cooler. All right, so our wires, we're gonna feed through this hole right here. Feed it on down, and it should be good. And let's see where we're gonna line it up. We're gonna put it up towards the top and grab our smaller screws. All right guys, we're gonna get our AIO shield in really quick. The audio ports go towards the bottom. And there we go, that's installed. Now we can install our motherboard. In some cases, you will have to put the standoffs in, but this case, they already have them if you look here. All right, so go ahead and grab your motherboard. Usually I grab by either the heatsink or these guys right here. And we want to kind of come in. We're gonna line up, make sure make sure our standoff holes are lining up. And there we go. The package that came with your case, I'll put a pattern up here on the screen for you guys. Sometimes some cases in the middle socket will have a little standoff that catches the board and holds it. Other ones will have a standoff that actually still takes a screw, and some have nothing. Now that we're done installing all our screws, we can install our heatsink, but I think what first I'm going to do is actually install the power supply and run some of our wires into the motherboard. All right, so go ahead and lay your AIO cooler on the ground right down there. Let's take the other side panel off and get our power supply installed. All right, guys, so the cables you're going to want to pull out, of course, your 24 pin, unless it's already attached. We're going to need at least our RGB, which is right there, and then we need a PCI, which is right here. Does look like it's the same connector, but two different cables. Of course, I like stuff to match. So here's another 6+2. Let's grab that guy. And then we need our EPS. So the one that says CPU, which is right here. We will, because we are installing SATA, and we also need to power our RGB, so we're gonna need at least one SATA cable. That's got 2 on that. That should do our power for our RGB and our SSD. And the rest of these cables can go in our baggie so we know that they're for the ASUS power supply. I'm going to hook all these power cables up to the power supply before I put it in, and I'm going to time lapse the rest of this. Alright guys, after you get all your wires plugged in, you will either need to grab 4 screws from your case box that is there, or if you have a power supply, they usually come with 4 screws. For some reason I couldn't find them with this power supply. It looked brand new, but that one strange cable has me kind of wondering if somebody returned this or it was RMA'd or something. I don't know. As long as it works, I'm happy. So let's go ahead, and we're going to face the fan down. Oh no, we're gonna face the fan up. That's our LCD screen and stuff goes towards the window. One thing you're gonna wanna do quick is either go into your case box that came with your case and with all your screws and grab out some coarse thread screws. They look like these guys, or they're gonna come with your power supply. For some reason this power supply did not include them, or I couldn't find them. Maybe I'm just blind or I'm getting old, I don't know. But go ahead here and get 4 of these coarse thread screws out, and let's get this bad mamma jamma knocked out. And we're putting the fan towards the top so our LCD screen is facing forward, and I'm probably going to time lapse putting these screws in, but you put 4 screws in. There we go, our power supply is installed. Now one quick thing I'm going to do, come around here, grab our wires, and we know our 24 pins got to go in there. So just some easy wire management, go ahead and throw it in your Velcro. And if you leave these Velcro loops really big while you're working on this, makes it a lot easier, then you can just feed this through. Go ahead and look at where your 24 pin is. Ours is about this level right here. So go ahead and feed that guy through. We know we got an ARGB wire we need to feed through. Okay, it's right down there. Our ARGB is right down here. So we're not going to want to feed that through because we got an ARGB splitter right here, so we'll feed up. And plug this guy on in. So all the cool lights go on. So one thing I like about this Acer case, it's not too expensive, and they give you an ARGB splitter with a fan controller hub. All right, so we're gonna find our cable that's labeled EPS or CPU, which is right here. And then this guy's got to come up to this corner, so we'll feed him through here. We might want to come on top of our 24 pin, try to get our cable some extra length. There we go. Feed them on through here. I usually try to tuck it down in here, but sometimes you don't have enough room, and feed them on through it right there. All right, now we have some other cables that we want to feed here. We might as well do it since we're right here. Got some fan cables. That looks like the fan cables for the controller. So we have a fan controller. We have our SATA cable, which is right here. We're gonna wanna plug this in. Our AIO also takes the SATA power, and it only fits in one way. You can't mess that up. So let's take our cable for our AIO. And since we're back here, and let's plug this all in really quick. So if you have an AIO, they give us a 3-fan splitter. We only need 2. Come in here and grab our 2 fans. That goes right here. So hook up our RGB for our cooler and our fans. And we got one more cable here that's loose. It's kind of a mess. We'll grab our other fan and plug it in right there. And make sure that if there's one with 4 pins, that's the first one you plug in first, because the rest are just add-ons. That's so it actually can sense the fan. And this has got to go actually back through and hook up into our AIO. So we got our SATA right here, which is powered. Grab this guy, let's give her power. It's a very long L-shaped connector. And just to tidy up the wires, I'm gonna head right back up this channel. We know our AIO cooler is towards the top of the case, or right here is the top of it. Make sure nothing's obstructing it. And this is our PWM fan controller for CPU. So we want to make sure that gets fed. And just enough to where we feel where our CPU is. And there we go. All right, so we're gonna feed the rest of these. Let's untangle this mess. So here's our motherboard fan controller for the splitter right here. So we know we got an extra header, and you're just gonna want to look to either find a system header or a case header. We got one right here. I know you guys can't see this, but I'm just gonna plug it in really quick. We're right at the bottom. Then we have our audio cable, so let's just kind of untangle this. And our power supply is actually in the way, so you'd have to undo the power supply to get this up in there. It's not too important for me, but I will show you guys where that goes. I will route it across the bottom here, just so you can see me plug it in. Of course, honestly, I'd take the power supply out and feed it through. And since ours only needs one, I'm just gonna leave one of these down here and wrap it up, because you never know if you expand your graphics card, you're gonna want that. So just tuck them on in right here. So go ahead and tuck your wire in right here. And that's for your graphics card. And the rest we can just tidy up. We got a couple cables left. We got our ARGB cable for the board, and we have some front panel connectors for on, off, and restart. Oh, there we go. So these are all our front panel connectors. So just make sure that they're untied, and we have a USB 3.0 header. So these are going to come in the bottom of the case in the front right here. Actually, we'll come behind all these. And then we have our ARGB and our 3.0 header. So come and look really quick here, and it's going to be right by our 24 pin. So let's wrap it back up right here in our ARGB, which is right here. And there we go. All our cable management is done on this side. You can tuck these in. It's not pretty, but the job is done. You can tighten these guys up. but not least, we have our drive cage for our SSD. And these look like they're quick on and off. They are. That's actually really cool, Acer. Good design. And we're going to make sure our ports are facing downward. We're just going to line this up. We're going to use fine thread screws. And there we go. And this guy is going to be fed. Let's look on the other side quick. And we can feed him right here. So I'll probably come through this first loop. Alright guys, first thing we're going to do is, I know that normally this comes with paste on it, but I'm just going to go ahead and put a piece size on here for you guys. And then our cooler is ready to go on there. So the first thing we're going to plug in is going to be this CPU right here. And the plugs go towards the back. I usually put one in at a time. Some of them will let you. It's going to be kind of hard to see here. So that's plug number one. And just make sure that these plugs are facing both in the same direction when you plug them in separately like this, if your cable allows it. Some cables you have to put in all at once. So there we go, we got both cables in, make sure they're locked. I'm feeling down there to see, and I'm looking right here to see if there's any plugs. Alright, as we move across the top of the board, here's our AIO pump header. It's just a normal PWM fan header, and it's going to go right there. That's that guy right there. And then as we move around the board, this is going to plug into our AIO, but we don't need that quite yet. Along with this guy, we can just leave them right there. But our second one is going to be our 24-pin guy right here. Make sure this guy is out of the way. And the clasp for this motherboard is going to be towards the front of the case. You heard it click. Check both sides that it's seated. It is. And now, I always plug this in last, but since I know that everything is good, we're going to plug in our USB 3.0. That's plugged in. Alright guys, so the first one that I'm going to come down right here is going to push in the SATA cable right here. It's a pretty simple one. Doesn't matter which one you plug into here, but just plug it in. And then we have our power switch and our LED switches and all that stuff. And this fan header right here, it's just going to make it really nice and easy. Plug that in. Our USB cable for our AIO Cooler, it's going to go to a 2.0. It's plugged right there. Alright, so the first one we want to do is HDD plus, and we want the, it's going to be really hard to see here, but we want the plus to go right there. And then this cable, our plus needs to go to the far corner right here, and it's kind of hard because they want to pull out. And that's that guy in. And we got that guy, and then our reset switch is this one right next to it, and that is our front I/O plugged in. Alright, now we need to put our plug in right here, and that's this guy right here. And now our HD audio. And that is all the connectors on the motherboard other than our AIO cooler. Alright guys, so now we're going to come and put our NZXT AIO cooler on here, and just get it lined up. Get your screws all nice and lined up. Push it down and grab one of your nuts and just get all four nuts on all four corners on here. And of course I'm going to start plugging these in. This is kind of hard to see, but go ahead and plug that guy in. And then we're going to plug our USB 2.0 in. That's our coolers all nice and snug. You're going to want to take a screwdriver and snug these down. And then last but not least, we need to get our USB 2.0 cable. Of course, the last thing you're going to want to install is your GPU, and that's going to be right here. Alright guys, now we're going to put our GPU in. This is going to be quick and simple, just like all of my other videos. Come and slot it on home, line it up with your PCI. Hopefully my head's not in the way here. There we go, we're down, and we're gonna grab our 6 plus 2 pin connector, and we're gonna join these two guys. Go ahead and plug that on home. And then we have 2 screws we gotta put in right here. Just 2 normal threaded screws. And drop our little gate right here that's in the back. And then we'll put our 2 screws in. And that is all the connectors done. One thing I didn't mention that you guys are probably wondering, like, hey Tech Nitwit, how am I gonna do my Windows? How's that gonna work? Well, there's 2 really neat things about Windows. First thing is your Microsoft account. Second thing is you got your drive from your first PC. Usually this should boot right up and Windows should be fine. That is our install ready, and we're gonna be ready to play some video games, guys. So I'm gonna do a power test really quick, hook up a monitor, and meet me back here and we'll see if this thing powers up. Alright guys, as you can see, we got this beautiful beast all lit up, and she is beautiful. Look at all this RGB goodness. For 99 bucks, this case is a steal. I don't know if I'd do the Kraken. Of course, that thing's awesome. I do like the temperature readout and all the RGB goodness. It is sexy. Of course, got the cool fans up top, if you can see those. They are sexy. And then, of course, the light up RAM. Of course, you can get the Trident Z for pretty cheap too. But if you want to do the case swap on the low end, you're probably looking at maybe doing this case, different power supply. You're not going to want to get the ASUS power supply, but yeah. Other than that, guys, one quick mention, I do want to talk about the Microsoft software. And if you're just logging in and you took their drive out of there, it might have some issues and it might do a bunch of updating, restarting. That's perfectly normal. It's uninstalling drivers and reinstalling drivers and doing its panaz, but then it should log in and it should be activated. All right, guys, we're gonna jump over to the on-screen quick here, and I'm gonna talk about the drivers that you're gonna wanna either uninstall or reinstall. So one thing you're gonna wanna do is come over here and type in program, and then go to add, remove programs. I already did it, but type HP in here, and anything that comes up in this list, uninstall. It's gonna take you about 5 minutes, but go ahead and do that. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is type in Realtek, and of course nothing comes up, which I have it uninstalled already. And any other drivers. If you switch graphics cards or anything like that, make sure you uninstall the other graphics card drivers and reinstall this one. So of course, here's our graphics card drivers. I'm not gonna install those because I already did. And then I went to AMD and got the chipset. I just looked up my, it says it on your board, B550, that's gonna be the chipset. Or if you do, I think there's X570 now, if you do any of those. You're gonna wanna get updated LAN drivers. You're gonna wanna, if you have an ASUS board, you're gonna wanna get AI Suite and Armory Crate. And then last but not least, your audio drivers, NZXT cam if you're running a Kraken or a Cooler like theirs, and then Armory Crate. And that's pretty much it. So guys, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, throw them down in the comment section down below. I'm usually pretty good about getting back to people, helping people out, walking people through trouble and stuff like that. Other than that, this was an awesome video. You guys are awesome, and thank you to all my subs. You guys are the reason I do this. Y'all have a frickin' awesome evening, day, night, whatever. Hey guys, it's Tech Nitwit here. Make sure you guys subscribe and like and hit that bell. Thanks.